It's been a couple of years, I think, since I first shared my review of the Thermomix. This kitchen robot is meant to replace nearly every kitchen appliance you own. But that probably sounds a bit like the promise at the start of one of those overnight infomercials. It's not what this is. I'm Erin from TechGadgetsCanada.com, and the Thermomix is a kitchen device that looks kind of like an oversized food processor that's been crossed with a huge blender. Though Thermomix here is very popular in places like Australia and Europe, it's virtually unknown in Canada and the US. Now this device can puree, liquefy, blend. It can also chop, grate, beat, whip, and shred. It can even bake, and that's what I'm going to show you today. Thermomix can also do things like steam vegetables and fish. It can cook rice and make risotto, good risotto by the way. It weighs your ingredients, and it can even go so far as not just cooking a single dish, but an entire meal and, like I said, dessert. We're going to make one of my favorite desserts, which is sticky toffee pudding using the Thermomix TM5. Now I've had this device for a couple of years and I use it all the time. Normally though, sticky toffee pudding is tedious and takes a lot of time and effort, but with the Thermomix, it's actually really easy and you don't have to worry about wrecking anything if you're not a great baker. That's because the Thermomix has built-in recipes. You dial up what you want to bake from its huge library, you'll hit start, and the robot is going to guide you through it step by step. It'll measure the ingredients for you and it times everything out. So let's get right to it. Sticky toffee pudding time. The Thermomix is going to walk you through every step. It will even give you a rundown on the digital screen here in terms of the ingredients that you want to have prepped and ready and the steps that you'll need to take to do this. So I'm just going to get things underway. I will also point out for this particular recipe, you do need the Thermomix steamer basket, which comes with it. And it's just a basket with a lid, really. There's another little tray that fits in here as well if you're doing things like steaming vegetables or fish. That adds in as well. But this is what's going to steam the cakes when it's time to bake them. The other thing you'll want to get are these little things called dariole molds, or I don't know, they're almost like little cupcake cups. You can use things like ramekins instead if you don't have these. These are, I don't know, they're not that expensive on Amazon, for example, so I grabbed a few, and they're really handy for making individual little cakes, which is quite nice. So I've got those kind of at the ready here, and we're going to get underway with the recipe. Step one is to put the lid on here, and you're going to measure out some dates. So I've got dates that I've pre-pitted. The Thermomix will, it'll basically take, like if you put something on here like this bowl to measure the ingredients in, you can tare the weight of that dish so that it's not going to factor in. And then you can just start, so it's asking me for 150 grams of pitted dates. And I did pre-pit these, they did have the pits in them. So that's about 50, so let's add lots more here, 110. And so that's at about 135. So I'm going to add a couple more to this here and then move on to the next step. Okay, moving on, it wants 180 grams of water, and it probably seems really weird to measure water by the gram, but because this device has a scale built in, that's I guess the easiest way to measure it. So I'm going to add 180 grams of water to the Thermomix. There we go. Ooh, 185, but it's hard to gauge that. And then the next step, it says, is to insert the measuring cup into the lid and then turn the speed dial. So it's got all the settings here telling you exactly what temperature and what it's going to do. It's basically going to heat this water for 4 minutes. So I'm going to turn it to stir and let that come to temperature. This is done and ready. So it's steamed the water in there, and now we're going to click on next step. So it wants us to pour the hot water over the dates and the baking soda, and the mixture is going to bubble up. So I'm actually going to get a bigger bowl for that. and put my dates and my baking soda in there. Make sure to get them all in. And be careful not to steam myself. It is foaming up a little bit, nothing crazy. Okay, so that is in there. And the next step, set aside and allow the dates to soak for about 20 minutes. So we'll do that. And then I trust we'll move on to some other things here. So it wants us to grease the dariole molds, and it's asking for 8 of them. 2, 4, 6, I have 7. I think 7 fits in here with the size that I chose, but let's just take a look and see. Yeah, for me, this size, I'm gonna get 7 in here perfectly. Hopefully you guys can see that. And I'm gonna get these greased up with some cooking oil spray. With our dariole molds greased up and ready to receive the batter, we'll proceed with the recipe. It wants 60 grams of unsalted butter. So, and it wanted soft butter as well. So I had this kind of chilling, actually not chilling, hanging out on the counter. That's 5, 20, let's see if that's 40. Might take all of my soft butter today, but that's all right. And you can just do this in increments and bang on at 60 right there. So take your time with that. Next up is going to be 60 grams of soft brown sugar. And my brown sugar's over here. I'll be right back. All right. This is fresh brown sugar, so it wants another 60 grams of brown sugar. Now what this is making is going to be the caramel sauce that goes on top of these cakes. So let me just get that in there. 25, 35, let's get a little more in there. 55 and 60. Okay, so that is our brown sugar. And now it wants 75 grams of golden syrup, which is really just corn syrup if you have it. You know, I wonder if you could substitute maple syrup. I don't know what that would do to the texture, but I bet if you didn't have corn syrup, that would probably be a pretty tasty and reasonable substitute. Fortunately, I do have some corn syrup. I actually use it to make marshmallows. Marshmallows are actually deceptively easy to make. You wouldn't think so. And marshmallows that are homemade are an entirely different beast from marshmallows you get in the store. They're nothing alike. So maybe I'll have to do there we go. Maybe I'll have to do a video about how to make marshmallows, because the Thermomix would probably come in pretty handy for that. Okay, our golden syrup is in. It wants 40 grams of milk. And I hope I have enough milk. I didn't double check, but let's see. 15, there we go. Oops. Okay, I actually put in 55 kind of by accident. I don't think that'll wreck it, but if the caramel sauce doesn't turn out, you'll know that it's my fault, not the machine's. Next up, it wants 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla, which I have here. And in it goes. All right, so we're gonna put the lid on, we're gonna mix this up. It's going to heat it up, and then on the flip side of this, we're gonna get to check out the caramel sauce. We're ready to move on to our next steps. It says done. Please click on next. And what we've got in here is a nice caramel sauce. Yum. Is it gonna, let's find out if I put too much milk in, really. No, it might be a little on the thin side. You guys probably aren't gonna be able to see this, but it looks and smells fantastic. All right, so we're gonna click on next. Transfer this to a serving jug and cool for 10 minutes before serving. So I will find a bowl. Actually, maybe, there we go. Put it in something that will let me pour. So there, you guys can see now. Might be a little on the thin side, but we'll see how, if it thickens up once it cools. So I'll set that aside. All right, meanwhile, clean mixing bowl and make the puddings. So one of the great things about a Thermomix is that you can clean this bowl really easily. I'm gonna step over to the sink here and get some hot water. And I will continue by saying, you can fill it up with water, add just a drop of soap, and then what you do is bring it back here, set it on the machine, and you're just gonna turn it on. So this cleans it. So you've got hot water and soap in here, so it's giving it a clean on the inside. You can reverse to make sure you get all the way around. So just a couple of seconds, that was probably more than I needed, but. And voila, the inside is clean. So this hot soapy water can be used for just about anything. You can stick it in the sink and wash up some other stuff with it later. So I'm gonna go give this a rinse out and then move on. Okay, it's clean. We're ready to move on now with some soft butter. See what we're getting here. Wants 40 grams of butter. That might be too much. Let's see. 35. Oops, 50. Well, let's take a little bit out and see if we can. 45. And, okay, probably 42, 41 or 42. Haha. More dark brown sugar, which I put away, helpfully. Forgot I would need it again. Time for some more brown sugar for our cakes. All right, let's see what we've got here. 25, 40, bang on, haha. I will say measuring stuff into this device is a bit of an art. You really should do it slowly and in small increments. Me, I don't have that kind of patience. I'm kind of the type of person that just likes to get it all in there. So anyway, that one worked out. 150 grams of plain flour. So I have just all-purpose flour here, and we'll see 40, 75, 105, 140. Now this is where I'll have to do it gently. 145. And 150. There we go. All right. After our flour, we need half a teaspoon of baking powder. And we'll see if my half teaspoon measure, it's in the dishwasher. I'll be right back again. All right, got that. And I'm just going to level it off with the back of a knife. Okay. Baking powder in. Come on. There we go. 1 large egg, which I do have. So what I'm doing here is just putting all of these ingredients into the bowl. There's kind of you don't really need to take any care or precautions or anything with it. It just all goes into the mixing bowl and it's gonna get whipped up into a delicious batter. Now it wants the reserved soaked dates and all of the liquid. So we have those over here. They've been soaking and softening up. Doesn't smell like much, but they are definitely quite soft. Skins and all, like I said, we took the pits out, but they're nice and soft. So all of those are going into here as well. Okay. And I think we are ready to go on the batter. I'm covered in flour. Covered in flour. The batter is ready. And the next step says to take the batter. There's a good look at what it looks like. Take that batter and we're going to divide it up among those dariole molds. So, got a spatula. Just going to scrape down the sides to make sure I get all the ingredients and all the batter in there. And we've got our prepared molds. So, I think this should pour okay. Let's try that. See if we end up making a real mess. And I'm kind of just eyeballing this. I don't really know. I guess it wanted 8. So, I mean, this should divide up fairly evenly. Now it's time to get cooking. I've put part of the water in here. I want 700 grams of water for steaming. So I'm just gonna top it up, and there we are. So little go on this time without the measuring cup portion of the lid, and that's going to allow the steam to get out of the bowl and into your cakes. So Thermomix tells us to place the covered Varoma dish into position. So I'm just gonna move this, make sure we've got some space here. Maybe need a little more space. There we go. So that is in position, and now it's going to cook it for 30 minutes. It's basically going to steam these cakes. So here we go. That sound means it's done, so let's take a look at what we've got here. Ooh, hopefully you guys can see those. I'll get you a bit of a close-up. These cakes are done. They look tender and soft and cooked. You can test them, of course, with a cake tester or a toothpick to make sure. But the good thing about the Thermomix is it knows what it's doing, so you don't have to second guess things. If it tells you these are done, they're pretty much going to be done. So I'm going to get one of these out of here. It's still a bit hot, but I'm going to serve one up and see what it looks like. Take a look here. So there we go. And then you can see they slide right out of those dariole molds really easily, which is very handy. And there you go. There is the cake. That's the sticky toffee pudding cake. And of course, we're going to serve it. And it sounds like my dog is hungry herself. We're going to serve it with our caramel sauce. And I'm just going to drizzle some of that over top. Yummy. All right, let's see what we've got here. Warm, perfectly moist. Steamed cakes are great. They retain all of their moisture and they're really tender. And that caramel sauce is dynamite. So that's how you use your Thermomix cooking robot to bake cakes if you want to. You don't have to be a professional baker or even a decent home baker to get great results if you're using this machine. I hope you found that video helpful. If you liked it, please hit that like button and consider subscribing, because it does help me keep making more videos that I hope everyone out there can watch, enjoy, learn from, and not whine about. Until the next time, you can catch me on Twitter or Instagram. I'm at Erin LYYC. You can also always find me and my dogs at facebook.com/techgadgetscanada.